of the young women that used to come in and out of that house that were brought there by Naomi Campbell. And then Jussie Smollett just...
Thank you, Rashard Cobb.
Baby, please, hand me my phone. Hand me my phone. What phone was it on?
Thank you, Rashard Cobb, while she's grabbing her phone. Appreciate you. Alan Thicke, the Canadian actor.
Yes, the father from Growing Pains.
From Growing Pains, not Home Improvement.
Nothing but a pain.
Rashard, I see you, baby. Thank you very much.
All the young women that used to come through that house that... And then Jussie, you know, referring to Naomi as the black Ghislaine Maxwell and saying that she was trafficking Bashir was a mess. Where is that girl? What day was that, honey? You want to run it by? You know, he can get you a voice clip. There are real issues out here in this world, and these kids have been led astray. They have been led astray. They have been bamboozled. They have been run amok.
You know, what I just saw.
What?
I'm just looking for something I just saw. Are you guilty for not saying anything sooner?
No, I can't say that. I can't say that anyone is guilty for anything at all.
Okay.
We all have to hold ourselves accountable for what we allow and what we don't allow.
Okay.
But we're not talking about what's being allowed. We're talking about what is forced normalcy. Okay. All of this depravity, all of this craziness, this is all forced normalcy. You want to know how many times I've been to a police station to report on a crime that happened within entertainment, and I was told to go home? I see people, you know, halfway scribbling on a report and then just throw it away, or sitting there in the interview room giving my story over and over again, and then looking around the hallway and seeing somebody get handed an envelope that I knew had nothing but money in it. What you do that? Like that, what is her name? Ashley?
Yeah.
Yeah. The one who was assaulted at the home with the remote control after being, you know, pharmaceutical down and touched him, you know, y'all know what I'm saying. And then she came out from underneath the sedation and she runs out into the street, and a witness called the police. Turns out that witness was a cop himself. And when the other cops got there, they weren't interested in her story. And she didn't feel safe to tell them the names of everyone that was there. Doesn't that sound like intimidation to you?
Yes, it does.
And more importantly, even if she was being hysterical, why didn't nobody take her to the hospital to get a rape kit? A great kit. Why didn't nobody take her to the hospital to talk with a crisis counselor and make sure she wasn't delusional, make sure she was in her sound mind? Why didn't nobody do a blood panel? Why didn't nobody want to see what was in her blood? You know, people keep forgetting how drugs work through a human body. There's times that these things will stay in your system as they're let out. You hear Diddy talking about all these IVs, right? Get a drip, or maybe he's sedating people and dripping them to push what he put in their system out. So when they leave, if they go to get scanned, the blood panel don't come back right. They're obstructing justice as they're holding people under sedation. Why does nobody realize these things? How can you tell people to go run and report a crime that people are paying to make sure is never recorded? You got more officers doing remixes on reports than DJs. And we got more fake DJs and real music makers too. Like everything is wrong, G. When are y'all, and it's funny because we was just sitting in the car and I said to myself, when you think of the Hebrew Israelites who left with Moses,
Okay.
and God said, go to the promised land, go to Canaan. And they went out into the desert and all they had to do was make it to the promised land. But they were stuck out there for decades.
40 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2 generations came and went. It was the 3rd generation that said, we sick and tired of sitting out here. We going over there. All of the infighting, all of the laziness, all of the craziness. And it took, the 3rd generation to break that tie and say, you know what? God said, go claim that land. Don't wait for anyone to give it to you. Go claim that land. And they did. Hip hop is the promised land, G.
Mm.
It is. For our community now, hip hop is the land of Canaan. It is the promised land. Hip hop has created the ability for generational wealth to be created in 2 generations in Black families, all based off of creativity.
From nothing. From nothing.
So once again, with hip hop being the promised land, what's keeping us in the desert other than our own choices? We've just abandoned it and let it go. Why doesn't anybody talk about the reclamation of rock and roll? It was an art form that we created. We just let the white people just go on off with it.
It's ticket.
Country music.
All of this is us. And everybody's getting rich off of it but us, while we sitting in the desert making drill records and waiting to see what company's going to cash in their new policy this month.
That's some real shit.
We're in the desert, G.
That's some real shit.
When we going to make it to the promised land? Because hip hop is the promised land and we've given it away to the vultures. We got to get back to the promised land.
Yeah.
Am I making sense?
I got you.
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
Let me ask you, Jag. A book
Yeah.
was released on Kim Porter recently that caused a lot of controversy. Diddy's former wife. In it were a few controversial
That was never his wife.
things. What are your thoughts on that book? And was your book accurate to,
No.
What's,
I'm telling you now, I
break it
believe
down.
it was a complete farce. I am telling you, there are real details that did come from her. And I believe that an orgy of evidence was created, handed to Courtney Burrs, who then brought in Mr. Chris Todd with a story that could never have been real. I think they set Chris Todd up to take the fall because he's a white man. It wasn't his idea to use the name Jamil, was it?